You do you, man.
It sounds like
Is
something
yogurt
that
okay?
It sounds like
enough.
something that someone's older brother tells them, yeah, dude, just put milk on it, let the cat lick it. And you go, oh, really? Okay. And then they're like, you know.
And they never leave the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is sounds like some misleading information. I question this woman.
Well, my beard's much bigger than it was when I was I would have been 19 years old at the time.
Has your cat been licking your beard all that time?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Case closed. So, Walter, can you talk about what it was that made you turn Thor into a frog, or create a Thor frog?
Well, it doesn't. Sure. When I was a kid, I read a lot of comics as a kid.
Okay.
I read everything I could get my hands on. I wasn't particular. And I certainly was. I wasn't a brand guy. Marvel Comics wasn't around when I was a kid. Well, guys, the 50s. They weren't doing the superheroes yet. But I read Dell Comics and DC Comics and whatever I could find, Classics Illustrated, and I was a big fan of, and remain a big fan of, Carl Barks, the giant Carl Barks fan. And he had, I just loved his stuff. The only comic we had a subscription to when I was a kid, and we would get Uncle Scrooge when it came out quarterly or bi-monthly, whatever it was. And when I was doing Thor, when I do any book like Thor or the Fantastic Four or Ragnarok, like I'm doing now, if I'm in the middle of a regular book, every so often I'll have an idea. And sometimes the idea is like, a sentence. Sometimes it's almost an entire story. I'll sit down and type it up. I've learned the hard way that if I don't write this stuff down, I don't remember it later. Like 4 hours later, it'll just be gone. So I have to write it down. And I keep a list of notes. And so by the time I'm done one of these books, my run of the book, I have more ideas for stories that I've actually drawn. And I go back and look at the ideas occasionally. Now that I'm doing Ragnarok, I go back and look at my old Marvel Thor ideas, and I can bend a few of them in the right direction. I believe in recycling. So in the original list that I had and that I was looking at when I was doing Thor for Marvel, one of the ideas that I had was just simply do a tip of the hat to Carl Barks.
Okay.
Awesome.
And that was really it. And eventually I got to a point where I thought, I could do something with this. And I debated about doing ducks, changing Thor into a duck, because, Donald Duck, Uncle Scrooge. But at the time I thought, well, there's Donald Duck, Uncle Scrooge, Daffy Duck. Marvel already had Howard the Duck. And there were enough ducks to go around. And I thought, maybe not. So I thought about it. And of course, I was also reading or rereading a lot of fairy tales for reference, Celtic fairy faith stuff. Trying to read things, Germanic, Northern European myths and legends, folk beliefs, all that kind of stuff, because I never knew when I'd find something in there that would turn into a story. And it occurred to me somewhere along the line that mostly in fairy tales, when the handsome prince gets turned into a creature, it's almost always a frog.
Right.
Not always a frog, but that's like the classic frog prince story. And so that's really where that and the fact that Carl Barks did a wonderful story in Donald Duck story and Walt Disney Comics and Stories, where he tells the story about how Donald and the kids, the nephews, were visited one night by the greatest hero that Duckburg ever had. And it was a frog.
Oh.
And I'm not, you'll have to go, I could bore you with the whole story. I'm not going to. But between that story and the fact that the fairy tales, frogs were important and stuff like that, that was why I chose a frog. And it also fit into I lived in New York at the time. That fits into the alligators in the sewer, urban legend, all that kind of stuff. And we were near Central Park, just a few, 200 yards away from Central Park. So I'd seen rat poison signs out in the park occasionally. Don't let your dogs here. And the reservoir wasn't too far from us. So all that stuff just kind of came together and turned into that story.
That's awesome.
I'm sure it's more than you want to know, but that was it.
No, that's awesome. I'm really happy that you told that. Thank you so much.
Sure, no problem.
Shall we check in around the room a little bit? Jules, I see an Ahsoka Tano. Very nice.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also I want to check in on Ryan there because John Calderas is in the chat and he's talking about the MODOK that he selected because he loves the version of that, and I see that one right at the top.
There he is.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Awesome.
I do use color as a crutch quite a bit, so
It's a fun crutch.
yeah, makes it easier.
I love that Cyclops too, Ryan. That probably brings back
thanks.
some of those 90s X-Men days.
Yeah, right when I stopped reading the comics. So, you know,
That looks like his costume from the 90s.
Yeah, they specifically asked for
that cartoon costume.
This costume, yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I'm actually partial to Walt's black and blue and white design.
Oh yeah, the
myself,
blue and white.
But
I think that blue and white's classic. I love.
I'm getting a draw it again. I'm drawing 2 issues of X Factor.
All right.
That Wheezy is writing, and it's set back in her continuity after my time in the book. It's in her continuity, so I'm getting to draw that stuff again.
Heck
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Hang on a minute. Don't take any screenshots, and don't tell anybody.
That's gorgeous.
Wow.
oh wow,
I don't know how much you can see of that,
Oh, yeah, dude.
but it's kind of fun to go back and do something I haven't done in 30 years.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
The next level's over there.
I'll be back in a moment. I have to go find some reference.
All right, let's talk
I'll
about
be-
Walt Weisner.
I'll be back because I have to go to the bathroom.
Are you guys meeting somewhere? Is this something I should know about?
Maybe.
Okay.
You'll never know.
Whoa. Yeah, you. Yeah, I'm just gonna stick around here. All my references on my handy dandy cell phone because
That's right.
technology.
Fast right there.
Yeah.
So next I'm tackling is Jessica Cruz, but I'm just gonna kind of tackle her in my own way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Nice.
yeah, very sassy Latina. Because I mean, let's be real, some Latin stereotypes are actually true. So
That's awesome.
I'm just gonna be giving her that. Don't you be saying that shit about my boyfriend kind of vibe.
I can hear the drawing. It's beautiful.
Gotta make sure I'm actually where you can see me.
You know,
So
I'm
what
just
else?
glad
Batman
there's no
piece.
to give us the drawing to draw the comics.
mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
I really like Cully's setup. He's got the full studio going on there. I like it.
When the pandemic started, like we were doing a lot of like for my art dealer, Essential Sequential, we were doing a lot of streaming.
Mm.
Somewhere along the line, we kind of let that lapse a little bit. We should get it going again.
Yeah, I was watching those on Facebook. I mean, they were pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, they were fun. I mean, you know. And by the way, I wanna point out, I feel I should introduce myself because actually, when you were going around with the introductions at the beginning of the show, you did not introduce me.
Oh my gosh!
I got skipped by everybody else got introduced but me. So I want to say, hey, I'm Coley Hamner.
We have Coley Hamner here tonight on 2 screens, and I freaking skipped him like a moron. I'm so sorry, Coley.
No problem.
Because I got out of order on when I was reading all the names and just botches, man.
But I will say in the beginning, your camera was on your drawing, so we knew you were here because you were the one guy we could see drawing away.
Mm-hmm. Tonight, a good friend of mine and a good friend of most of y'all on here, John Suntress from Word Balloon. He could not be here. I know he would have. Dude's awesome. I love John so much. He's so cool.
He's so great.
But John, you know, if you're out there watching, which I hope you're sleeping, make sure you get some rest and don't overexert yourself. Just do some chill time, man. Do some good reading.
Let's be honest. He's watching.
He's
definitely watching. Hi, John.
He's watching, right?
We love you, John. We love you, John.
The best.
Yeah, and John, get healthy so we can get this podcast thing going again. I mean, that's what you're there for.
That's it. And I know Jim McLaughlin wanted me to give some shout outs to Mike and Taki. And he says, Taki will sketch him out. Mike will finish. Let's roll with the punches. Something like that. So how y'all doing? how's the pandemic treating you during these hard times? Are y'all are getting working a lot together, which is kind of cool, huh? It's always
Us?
cool. Yeah. Sorry, Taki. Sorry about that.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not that much different, but yeah.
This is literally all we do. We
Yeah.
just don't do anything else. And like, when the pandemic started, I was joking, like I can't wait this over so I can get out once or twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
it's kind of true.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're working on a bunch of stuff. Taki's well, you talk about what you're working on.
I'm working on, I don't know, so many things. Well, one, I have a biography graphic novel that will be coming out, which I get to write, draw, color, and letter myself. So that's
wow,
exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you talk about who? Did you say autobiographical or biographical?
Autobiographical.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was kind of working on it for a while, not having any publisher for a while, but now I finally have one and have some, leadway, so that's good. And I don't know, I'm just working on a bunch of like passion projects that really don't have a home yet, but I'm just kind of working on them.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and we tend to just work on stuff when we have ideas and then figure out how to publish it afterwards and stuff.
Yeah. So like the biographical comic, like I was working on it, and I'm glad that I was working on it because I'm like already halfway done now, so I don't have much to go.
I will say I found it very difficult to work on stuff if I don't have a deadline.
It is very difficult to work without a deadline. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Much tougher.
True. But
and my deadline usually has to be like tomorrow.
I feel you. I can be amazingly fast when it's due like in 2 days,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love deadlines, but sometimes when you have the free time and you have the passion to work on something, just kind of do it,
Yeah.
Deadlines are how I just value myself. That's how I measure my own self-worth. Like how many days late I am, that's the more like self-hatred and disappointment in myself. And when I get it on time, then I'm like, yes, I am worth something.
Mm-hmm. When Wheezy was working for Warren as an editor a million years ago, she had Russ Heath did several jobs for her. Beautiful, beautiful jobs. But she discovered that Russ was always exactly a week late with his job. So once she figured that part out, she would give him a deadline a week after she needed the job. And then the job would come in exactly on deadline.
That's hilarious. That's so
never told
funny.
him that.
Did she invent that? Because I think most editors live that way now. They have like a real calendar and then their fake calendar.
That's probably been around a long time. Just in Russ's case, he was like clockwork. It was exactly a week after it was due.
That's so strange.
Wow.
Now I don't feel so bad about delivering on my Mark Trail like 2 or 3 hours late every week. Last 2 weeks, I'm like, damn, like a few hours, that's nothing. This dude's just turned his ish in a whole week late. Damn, that's not so bad.
I don't know if anybody remembers Tony Salmons. I mean, I say Tony Salmons, or if you know of his work. And I mean, he's obviously still with us somewhere, but I think Mike Mignola had posted a piece of a page from a Hulk story that he did in Marvel.
I saw that. Yeah.
And then I found a site that I went back and found my copy because I love that story. And there's actually a site that reprints the entire story on it. And I put up a link to that and was talking about Tony. And then Tony and I collaborated on a job I did where Tony drew some flashback panels in black and white, and then I colored them and integrated them into the
Oh,
rest
wow.
of the show. And I put up one of those pages on Facebook too. Anyway, so I was reading an interview with Tony from the early 90s. I can't remember what I think he might have been working on Vigilante with James Robinson at the time or just before that. But he was talking about, he never holds back when he talks about the industry, but at all.
After my own heart.
What he was saying was, he said, the thing about being late is that all books are late all the time and always have been. And it was just it was a fun perspective because in a way it's true, because so many books are supposed to come out 12 issues a year and they don't always come out 12 issues a year. That's like a best case scenario. That's what you shoot for. But the reality is that certain people, not everyone can hang with that schedule. And some people can master it and not everybody can. And I don't know if what he's saying is factually true, but it was interesting because what he was saying is that everyone has this pace that they work at, and to think that you have to master that pace or you're some kind of failure is ridiculous. And I tend to agree with that. And nowadays we don't have to put up with that if we don't really want to. And if you want to be a 12 issue a person, worker bee, you can be. Look at, Walter, did you do more than one issue? Did you pencil more than one issue a month when you were like?
No, I wrote.
Because you really churned out a lot. But you 12 issues of Thor every year?
Well, more or less. They kept moving the deadlines back a week or two here and there to accommodate me. But I will say one thing about what you're talking about is in the old days, my page rate when I first got into comics, 72, was $40 a page. And that was for pencils and inks. Maybe 45. I think it was probably 40. And that means, I was just doing short stories. And back then you had to kind of be blooded for a while before they gave you an entire comic to draw.
Blooded.
But it does mean if you were married, had a kid, back in those days, back in the 50s, before I was in comics, often you had, traditional families structures in the old days where the guy worked, the woman kept the house, and there were kids and whatever. My guess is you couldn't afford not to crank out about 12 issues a year.
Yeah.
Because you weren't making very much money. I think stuff became a lot sloppier as far as deadlines were concerned once royalties came in. From one, which was before that, and even when I first got into comics, it would have been harder not to have worked really hard to get that stuff out because you just weren't making enough money to be able to, turn out 6 issues a year or whatever.
Yeah, Walter, I want to point out something interesting. Okay, so when your first page rate was, you said $40 or $45 a page.
40 or 45.
What year was this?
72.
Okay, 20 years later, when I broke in 91, 92, my page rate was $65 a page. And
for pencils and
for pencils.
Oh, okay.
And I just find it interesting that in that time, page rates kind of really only went up about $20.
Well, that's the trend of being in this business, is that it's not a living wage half the time.
Well, it's also, that's not quite true, because when I said $40, that was for pencils and inks.
Oh, well, never mind then.
So, $60 a page, 65. That doesn't sound too bad to me for an opening.
Yeah, but I'll tell you right now, there are companies right now that aren't paying much more than that for a pencil and ink page. They're just hiring people.
That's what I think is crazy, is that was 30 years ago. And that was for Dark Horse Comics. That was an independent company. And the rates are not that different if you're starting out.
No,
they're going down.
Yeah,
I know that like my rates are relatively the same as they've been. They've gone up a little bit since like the mid 2000s or so. But I know artists now who are on big books who don't have a page rate that I have.
Right.
Yeah. Like they're especially if you're young, they'll take advantage of that.
Well, it's always been a little weird. When I was first in comics, I was in about 2 or 3 years till about 75, 76, and Seaboard Comics, Atlas, started up. Martin Goodman started a new company to kind of compete with Marvel. Didn't last about a year, but he had troubles before royalties. He had trouble getting people to come work for him. So they were paying double page rate. So at that time at DC, I was making $55 a page. And I went and did a couple of jobs at Atlas. I got 110. Now that's for pencils and inks. But that was a pretty princely sum at the time.
Yeah.
And after that, when they folded, at some point I went back to DC, and Carmen Infantino, who was the editor-in-chief at that time still, really liked my work. And he really wanted me to come back and work for DC again. And he said he couldn't really pay me $110 a page. So I got a $75 page rate, which was a $20 increase per page, which wasn't bad. That was a big jump. I was told, but I never confirmed it, that I was being paid more for pencils than Kurt Swan.
Wow.
Now, there is no way in hell I should have been making more money than Kurt Swan, who was the standard Superman artist of the time. I didn't turn the money back in. I didn't ask for a lower page rate. But but one of the things that taught me, and we learned, the young guys, you guys may have learned this as well. I don't know how many worked exactly, well, some of you have in mainstream, but it was often true that if you worked in mainstream, your page rate went up faster if you jumped companies from time to time.
Yeah.
If you stayed at the same company, loyalty per se was not really rewarded. They're happy to have you doing it, but it wouldn't occur to them to give you a higher page rate. Whereas back in the day, I used to jump from Marvel to DC and back again, off and on. And it wasn't always because of the page rate, but generally the page rate went up when you made one of those jumps. And having said all that, here's Thor from 379 with his armor plate helmet.
Nice.
Do you think
I always tell people, like, whenever they get a new job, they should ask for a raise in their rate, because the worst that's going to happen is you'll hear no.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, there's one publisher that I haven't worked with for 10 years, but I know this guy pretty well. Some of you do too, and I'm not going to say his name, but he never gives you a compliment on anything you do when you turn in a cover or whatever it is. And I actually had the same conversation with another artist who does painted comics and painted covers. And he said, I never hear any good feedback. I never hear any feedback. I turn in these covers. I'm punching way above the weight of the page rate, because the page rate is small or the cover rate's small. But I always turn in something nice because, I can turn around and sell it. And also it's fun to do. I'm doing it because it's also fun. And I just never hear any feedback from this guy or the editor. And I said, me neither. And I said, I think it's because they're afraid that if they give us a compliment, we'll ask for a raise. That's the only, because the answer I got,
what kind of crap is
we
that?
hire you in the first place. That's how we like it. We like your work because we hire you. It's like, yeah, but what? I mean, who can live on that?
Like begging, but like on a company level, like, if we never pay you a compliment, you're never gonna know your worth. And I'm like, fool, if I go to another company, they'll figure out my worth, and you'll be here looking stupid.
Yeah. I guess if you wanted to do a Red Sonja book, or if you want to do a Red Sonja cover, and it was worth enough to you to do it, you could put up with, say, the person who is publishing a book like, say, Red Sonja. I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm not saying that that's what it was. But if it was, you would know.
If it was.
And, you might actually even have had similar experience with that and would know what I was talking about. But the point is that, after a while, when this person then asks if you could do them a favor and take half your cover rate to do some other books, and you say, yeah, sure. And then you work for half your cover rate, and then you still don't get a thank you. I mean, it's like, really? You couldn't say thank you thank you for taking half the rate, and then thank you for doing such a great job on these, as if you were getting full paid. So, I have not worked for this company for over 10 years, and I'm completely happy to not work for them. It's great. I'm happy as a clam not to work for them. They can have full characters that I love, and I can draw them too over here, but I'll get paid more. You know what I mean? So,
like getting out of a toxic relationship, it's
yeah. Well, there have been comics where you are in a toxic relationship with either an editor or a company, I've been in toxic relationships with editors, and you put up with it because what are you going to do? Who are you going to work with?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
DC Comics had some pretty great people working when I was working with DC Comics mainly in the 90s. There were a lot of great people that I got to work with. I mean, one of the people I got to work with was Walter, because we had a great editor in Mike Carlin.
It was fun.
Mike said, "Who do you want to work with?" I said, "Walt Simonson." He said, "Okay, what a great idea." And I was like, "Really?" So it turned out that it was a good idea.
It was a good idea.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it worked out like that with Mike Mignola. I did a story of Wolverine: The Jungle Adventure. It was a one-off.
So fun. That was
what was
such
going
a fun
on
graphic
was
novel.
one of the guys, Bob Harris, I think, I don't remember. Mike told the story that he asked Mike if Mike would do an annual or do something for him, and Mike didn't really want to do anything. He said, "Oh yeah, how about Wolverine and the Hidden Land or whatever it's called? What is the
Savage Land?
What's it called?
Savage Land.
Savage Land. That's right.
Yeah.
In the Savage Land with cavemen and dinosaurs, and Walt Simonson gets to write it. And so the next day I called Mike up and I said, "Hey, I understand we're working together."
Nice.
That's a great thing when that works out. And working with Archie Goodwin, that's another example. I don't want to knock the comic industry all night, but to be on a positive note, working with someone like Mike Carlin or working with Archie Goodwin were highlights. I mean, especially Archie, because to realize that you're working with the guy who used to just tell Frazetta, just turn in a cover and I'll write a story around it. And then he does the thing, then he lets you do the same thing, is like that was pretty amazing to me when I was I was still pretty young doing comics and still very much a fan. And also to be able to work with someone who was experienced enough to leave you alone and not be like over your shoulder all the time, or not trying to put extra pressure on you by being a smart ass. Because I worked with a couple, I worked with one editor in particular at DC they kept putting me with this guy, and he liked to break balls, and to put it, lightly, and it wasn't always fun to interact with that person. Whereas with Archie, you go, "What do you think?" He'd go, "I think it's great." I go, "Well, I don't think I should ink my own stuff. I don't like how it looks." He goes, "I think it looks great. I think you should totally ink your own stuff." I'm like, "Really? You don't have anything bad to say about anything?" I mean, because this guy over here, he's like, "No, okay." And it was night and day.
Well,
and again, I'm talking about what's that, Walt?
Archie's one of the best editors comic books ever had. So
I was going to say, you guys were.
It would be like night and day to almost anybody.
Manhunter,
yep.
Archie Goodwin and Walt Simonson, right?
He was great. He was great to work with.
And by the time you and Archie had started working on Manhunter, when was that?
It was just to be early '73. I had been in comic books for 6 months when I started working.
Wow.
On that script.
Character, a memorable character for people who remember Manhunter. I mean, he kind of sticks with you, but to be able to be that 6 months into working on comics and work with a person like Archie who had done everything at that point.
It was phenomenally lucky. I appreciated it at the time, but I appreciate it more with every passing year. The amount of luck I had to be able to step into that. And when I didn't find out till years later, Archie told me years later, I got that gig. When I first got into comics, I had some science fiction samples. And so I got science fiction jobs. And I was kind of green enough early on. I mean, I had these samples. I thought they showed that I could tell stories, that I could draw, whatever it was. But I hadn't thought about getting only science fiction stories. And it was pretty clear well before Star Wars, that science fiction was kind of a little ghetto in comics over in the corner. And that was really all it was. And I knew artists who were pretty good, who were always given science fiction stories, but nothing else. And I thought, I better find something else, get some other story as quickly as I can to try and prove I can do something besides science fiction. And ultimately, I wheedled Archie and they let me do a 3-page story. Remember they had 3-page stories? I did a 3-page story of the Alamo that a friend of mine, Don Craw, wrote. Don was a writer in comics back in the day. And I was young, I was an idiot. I read an entire book on the Alamo so I could draw this 3-page story. And so I drew the story and turned it in. And it's not great. It's not bad. It's not great. But I worked my ass off on it. And I discovered told me that was the job that persuaded him to offer me Manhunter, which he had coming up and wanted to find an artist for. So, so my plan worked, and that I found something else to do besides. But I never realized the Alamo job was quite that significant in my career until much later. But that's the idea about trying to do different stuff. You never know how it's going to turn out.
I just remember making the connection between Archie, who was the editor of all those Warren magazines, and then also wrote practically all the stories.
Yep.
And then later on coming in, and then he was part of the Epic line, I think is what, but I mean, obviously there's all this stuff in between. But I mean, this is a person who didn't look for adulation. He never got caught up in the social media thing, obviously, because it was after his time. But there's so many people who are coming up in the industry that just aren't aware of him. And there's a whole cadre of people like that we're not aware of, who are great people to work with. And that's why I like talking about them.
Tempest Fugit, pal.
Yeah.
Here is Zartan from G.I. Joe.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Let's check in on a few others. Gabriel, I saw you had concluded your Admiral Akbar. I'm assuming it's Admiral Akbar. Could have been really
cool.
any Mon Calamari.
Here's the Admiral Akbar.
Gorgeous.
Oh, nice.
I can tell that's not the first one you've drawn.
No, I've drawn a couple. I did a Star Wars book for a bit at the very end of Dark Horse, and we, I wrote and drew it. So I like those guys. So one of the main characters was a Mon Calamari guy. Also, what's Mr. Miracle? Yeah,
Mr. Miracle.
And a very overworked Batman that
nice
wore him up.
Nice.
Ibrahim, what are you working on down there?
I've got a Batman going here, just about done. I'm just kind of doing some of the finer details. And you can see it's kind of a Dark Knight Returns inspired Batman.
The broad chest, yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And I cheated and did 2 last night, so I would be able to get enough done in time because I'm on a deadline. So there's a Deathlock.
Oh wow.
Nice.
I apologize for the poor lighting in my setup here. And then a Superman.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Nice.
Very cool.
These coasters are very absorbent, so I've been learning.
Yeah, I was just thinking that they're really kind of hard to ink on.
Like drawing on blotting paper.
Right.
Which makes sense because they're coasters. I didn't even think about it beforehand.
Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
They work good with colored pencils though, because they have tooth.
Yeah, it's a nice toothy paper. I've been using a little bit of black colored pencil for some of the shading, and it's taken that really nicely.
There's a Wolverine.
Oh, look at that. That's awesome.
Very nice.
How about you, Tom? How's your work coming along? What kind of coasters you got?
I've
got
that's
right. You got the big one.
The kind that the post delivers when the U.S. decides that the USPS isn't important anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in Canada. So there's Jack Knight, Starman. That was the first one.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm not working at my drafting table over there because I'm working at my computer table, so I can barely see what I'm doing. And there is the Winter Soldier, as played by Klaus Kinski. And I'm just starting on a Man Thing.
Klaus's best work.
So cool.
Not giant size though, right?
Darn.
Tom, I missed that Winter Soldier Klaus Kinski thing. Show me again.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let me get his face right in there for you.
Oh, it's awesome.
Oh my God.
I have a Winter Soldier too. I'm also doing this Klaus Kinski. From now on, he's Klaus Kinski.
Just screaming at Captain America.
Jules, was that a Jessica Cruz that I saw?
Yeah, I've got Jessica Cruz going. Or actually, I just finished up Jessica Cruz. Let me lift it up.
Oh, that's cool.
Very cool.
Wow.
Jessica Cruz, and I've got a Spider-Gwen just started, and Ahsoka Tano. I feel bad. I'm not keeping up with everyone else. I'm seeing y'all are, like, cranking out like 5 and 6 of them. I'm like,
You coming in? All right.
I gotta get caught up.
I got my 2 hardest ones done first. I did Throg, and I had some reference of frogs to help me out. But
oh, I love it.
That's
so cool.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
A lot more fun. It was actually pretty fun to do. And then I just finished this one, which actually wasn't. I was working on Colossus last year for way too long for a Marvel job. So
sweet.
That's cool.
Came out okay. So now I can relax a little bit. These ones are done.
I love the old
Work on
school
Moonshine
Colossus
Pictures.
costume. It's so campy, but so beautiful.
Yeah, Jade Cochran.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
In a word.
Phil, what are you working on?
Well, first I want to say I can't believe I volunteered to have my ass handed to me all night.
Oh,
Come on, Phil, give me a break. Come on, man.
But I started with a little swamp thing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's great.
I'm already with that.
Oh, nice.
Fake modesty stuff.
Nice.
And then
That's
a bane.
Oh, nice.
It's not really in my wheelhouse. And then this might be the most absurd one of the night. Alfred E. Newman as Green Arrow.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
Can you hold it closer to the thing? That's really awesome.
And I'm in the middle of a Green Arrow, which I can literally do with my eyes.
Oh, love
That's
it.
nice.
I have a feeling that Alfred E. Newman Green Arrow one was supposed to be headed my direction.
It may be. And thank you very much.
I want to let everyone know that Word Balloon's very own John Suntress is in the Mainframe Comic-Con YouTube chat. John, what's going on, man?
Hey, John.
Hey.
Nice.
Hey, buddy.
Was talking about you earlier, dude. We want you to get better, man, so you can be on here and chat and hang out, you know? The good stuff.
Someone called it. They said he'd be watching, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Y'all called.
If you've met John, you knew that there was no way he was going to miss this.
Oh, my goodness.
So I have to ask now that I've seen the Alfred E. Newman. Obviously, all of you, I'm sure, have received completely absurd requests, and you have to have favorites. Does anything stand out?
Let me see.
You-
I don't have.
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying drawing Razorback right now, which I've never had to do before.
I refused. Would you like to hear about one I refused?
I would love to hear that story.
Yeah. This is back when I was just like a sketch machine at shows. I would take sketches from, beginning of the show to the end of the show just to earn my keep. And a kid came up to me and he was like, "Can you draw me the Punisher?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, he's not my favorite, but yeah, I can draw the Punisher." And he's like, "Well, how about the Punisher shooting a guy?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I guess I could draw the Punisher shooting a guy." And he's like, "Okay, how about the Punisher shooting a guy who's tied up in a chair who looks like my dad?"
Oh man.
And
Oh wow! I thought this was going to a sex place.
no.
Wow.
I passed on that one lest I be consistent.
Draw the Punisher giving that guy who's tied to the chair a lap dance, please.
Yes.
I was.
Do you guys also get your cats just walking on you while you're drawing?
Oh.
This is happening now.
Everyone's a critic.
That's right. We were in Paris, '86, and did a signing in a Paris Parisian comic shop. I was doing Thor at the time, and a young woman came up, and she wanted a drawing of Loki. This is before Tom Hiddleston had taken over the role of Loki, obviously, many, many years. But she wanted a picture of Loki, and she wanted him with a shredded shirt, and she wanted little beads of sweat on his chest.
Oh my God.
Well, that's so specific.
Was that
yeah, that's what I thought too. I don't know. I did it for her, but I thought, oh man, I don't want to know any more than this. This is already TMI.
Wow.
And here's a dark side.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Oh,
That's
beautiful,
awesome.
wow. I think that's for me.
My
probably.
advantage over the rest of you guys is pretty much is I go back to when comics were printed on really crappy paper. As a result, I wanted to draw pretty boldly because it just wouldn't reproduce otherwise. And I haven't really gotten out of that habit, I'm afraid, or at least it's useful for sketches. Here's one more question. I've done my sketches. I've got 5 here. I finished them. I've got 2 more coasters.
Keep going.
Okay. I'll just do a couple more and they can be auctioned off or whatever, however that works, however that would work.
Yeah. I got they sent me a sketch card with mine. I don't know if anyone got a sketch card, and I already did something the other day on it to send back. So this might
wow.
Wow. Love it.
Great.
Little Red Sonja deal. Yeah, you know, when I have to do something that's pretty involved and like a large painting with lots of figures and things going on and figuring out that whole puzzle, it's really, really fun to just focus on these smaller things. They're a treat to do, so I don't mind doing them at all. I did a bunch of little Christmas card sort of images for my patrons on Patreon, and I put them downstairs. We put all our Christmas cards on the back door, you know, the back of the front door by the house, and so I would get one done. I did about 7 during the month of before Christmas, and I would put them with the Christmas cards, and so instead of sitting down and doing Christmas cards this year, I was doing these little ones for the family. And I did one for my mom. I did a Santa for my mom, and they were really fun to do. It was pure joy to just sit in the studio and have fun, knowing that I have some other thing that's waiting, that's some, you know, not a headache, but something where it's going to require a lot more concentration and more time and stuff. Oh, do you mind? Can I show you guys an Archangel commission that I did recently, since Walter's watching?
Are you kidding? Yeah. Absolutely.
Do it.
I was thinking about you while I was working on this thing. I have to take it out of the plastic, but I remember when X-Force, when you and Weezy were doing X-Force, and Apocalypse shows up with his, you know, with Angel has been turned into a kind of cyborg, and how much fun that was. And to have someone ask me to do that character was like taking a trip back in time, really, to back when I was still just a big comic book fan. I was just out of high school, you know. I wasn't really even in art school yet or anything, but I had to take it out of the plastic so it doesn't glare. But this was a piece that I put off doing for it was on my desk for a few weeks, and for some reason I had a lot of anxiety over jumping into it, and so that's why I kept doing all those Christmas card pieces. But it's only like 14, but it's done finally.
Oh, wow. Nice job.
Amazing.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Watercolor and some gouache and a little bit of ink. I think I used I guess I used ink for the wings, you know, for the line work on the wings.
Right.
But
that's lovely, man.
It was, thank you. It was a real bear.
The costume's a pain in the ass. I don't know what I was thinking.
You know, I could have just drawn the whole thing in ink and then done watercolor washes over it. But I figure when people pay me to do a painting, I might as well paint it, But I'll be damned if I didn't just keep thinking, why don't I just ink this like it was a drawing and then just, do what, but I didn't, So everything's painted with a brush and all that stuff. But that was one of those things where I was like, the wings, I think of the wings are the thing that really, the wings and the fact that you're doing these colors and I don't know, it's just, it reminded me of when I was working.
He's a tricky character to draw because he's one of those things where it's like, if you don't kind of draw it like you're trying to be Walt, it doesn't look like the character, he's got such a strong stamp on there. So well done, man.
Well, that's
I kept redoing his face because I want him to look like a
warlock. Who else can draw a warlock effectively, really?
Well, I'm sorry. What was that you said?
Oh, I just said it's like Bill Sienkiewicz drawing Warlock. He's like the only guy who can really draw a Warlock because he just goes nuts. Everybody else, Lloyd Adams does a great Warlock, but it's so antithetical to what Bill does. It's incredibly structured in order to get the appearance of non-structure.
Which in itself is pretty impressive. The fact that he actually broke down Walter's, Bill's completely surreal kind of expressionistic character into this thing that Arthur could figure out to draw in his style. He perceives things. It's pretty amazing. But that's Arthur. He's able to do that so well.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Imagine somebody sitting here with zero artistic skill, watching you guys produce this beautiful art, and what's annoying is watching that, because this is what I came up with. This is my beautiful, this is something I've practiced a few thousand times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's that
Someone went to
dad
8th
from
grade.
middle school. Oh, yeah.
This will be auctioned off at the end of the stream.
Hopefully someone might, send a couple bucks. Hey, it is for the Hero Initiative. So if you really want Ryan to do you some artwork, he's available.
Just don't ask me to draw hands. Can't do it.
Me either. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud?
I used to turn in these sketches for covers to my editors at DC, and I would like to go in tighter, on the characters, so I wasn't painting these little figures and stuff. And I like expression, and I like getting in and working on the form. And so sometimes what would happen is like you wouldn't see their feet because I'd be cropped in enough on the figures that you wouldn't see their feet. And I used to get this comment, which was, "Do you not know how to draw feet?" And that really hurts when it says that to you. That hurts. But I said, "No, I can draw feet. I can do feet just fine. But I mean, then the figure has to be this big, or I have to be drawing his feet up in your face." And it's funny because now when I do a commission, I know that people who are commissioning something on 11 by 17, they want to see the full figure. Clients want to see the full figure. And so I am much more aware of making sure that I do the feet than I used to be when I didn't give a crap, But now I figure, well, I guess people really do want to see the full figure, So yeah, my feet got a lot better after that. For sure.
Those weird foot fetishes, their damn feet, okay? They're like, I need to see feet.
Well, what used to make me really crazy is hearing people say, without knowing what they're talking about, that Frazetta didn't do feet well, or he didn't like to do feet because you don't see feet in a lot of his paintings. And it's just like, really? You really don't think he can do feet, huh? I mean, they
he can do everything else but feet.
Just got to the feet and I was like, you know what? I'm good. That's enough.
There's a Manhunter.
He liked to have his characters planted heavily, very strong in the foundation of the painting. So a lot of times you wouldn't see the feet because you just see these trunks of trees planted in the firmament, and which gave it this character, this indomitable kind of, you're not going to knock me over. I'm, very powerful kind of stance. And I always thought that was awesome. And I understood it. So, but then when you finally see him do feet, pretty amazing. Pretty good feet.
Very nice. Can we check in on Cully? Cully, what are you drawing right now?
I am doing, and forgive me because I don't know the character, Lord Hijiki from Usagi Yojimbo.
Okay.
I've never read it. I mean, I hate to say. What's that?
You had it right the first time. It's Yojimbo.
Yeah, it is Yojimbo. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know the character, so I'm like sort of using reference here and kind of doing my own spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fine.
Awesome.
It's the last one I have, but I've got a couple, like Walter said, I got a couple of coasters here, so I'll probably do a couple of extra things.
Good old Jim McLaughlin. He always rocking with the extra coasters, man, because he knows that.
Pretty
why not throw a
insidious,
couple
isn't
extra
it?
in there? Yeah, throw a couple extras in there. He's got some good tricks of the trade.
He's
that
not
guy.
dumb.
Yeah,
We're
they're
getting
all
many
extra
compliments
for
in
me.
the chat for the
I'm with mine, other than I got the storm to do, but I can't. I gotta get reference for that.
Michael and Taki. Your cat is getting many compliments.
Yeah.
This is the artist life.
Rob.
This is the yeah, he's just trying to see if I can get a psych of what is happening.
Cool.
That's a portrait right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think next time I'll request a sketch of that.
Jesus. Yeah, it doesn't even look real. Like he looks like he's like just plopped in, you know, like a CG.
Cats defy physics. It's okay.
They do. They really do.
That cat is really enjoying the fact that you are a comic book artist.
Oh,
now.
Yeah.
Forever. So I just finished.
He knows no loneliness.
So here's Moonshine McJug. A la
Nice.
Not a lot of McJugs, but plenty of moonshine.
I was going to say I love the way that I guess the perspective that you use there with the corner.
That's pretty neat too, dude.
That's right.
Nice
The
little
clap.
design thing.
I'm doing them all like that.
Yep.
The diamond shape.
The diamond shape, man. That was made popular in Baltimore, wasn't it, Dan?
That's right.
We did those. Yeah. The diamond.
Didn't even occur to me to
That's
turn
how,
this
that's
thing
how I
off.
do
Oh
it
wow,
now.
that would yeah.
Kind of like, somehow it feels like there's more space when you do it when I do it like that, but it's fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, so I got one more to go. I got Phoenix to do.
Cool.
Is it a specific Phoenix or is
says
it just kind
Jean
of?
Grey. I think it says Jean. I think it's Jean Grey Phoenix. So and I can't check my list because it's on my phone and I don't want to touch my phone. But I think it's Jean Grey Phoenix. So I'm gonna do a green costume rather than a red costume because I suspect that's what they want, but we'll see. Actually, I think I'll do green and red if I can do that somehow.
And there's a Cyclops.
Very cool.
Oh, awesome.
Very
Awesome.
That guy's done.
cool. Nice.
I am done.
Like this is a pretty okay Spider-Woman. I think it's like she's came out all right.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Nice.
Very
Oh, nice.
Right. And
So what should I do next?
I'm all done, but my wife suggested this that I draw a beaten down Tinkerbell mom.
Oh no.
So that's for my 6th card. See how that goes.
Christmas Tinkerbell.
Well, somebody should just draw feet.
There you go.
You know what?
Wait
have
until the
actually
lips
marked
were
and
not
draw
on the
foot.
glass, please. Thank you very much.
That's the dirty secret. No one here can draw feet.
I'll draw feet over hearts any day.
Oh, I will draw some feet. I will put on one of my hoe shoes and I will draw one of my skin toe.
Your hoe shoes.
I was drawing Thor, the next to last, third from last issue, I guess. No, I'm sorry. One of those is the Surtur fight, 53. I had Thor fighting Surtur, who was a gigantic guy, and they're walking around inside Asgard. And I took some editorial heat for not showing Surtur's feet because he's walking around inside the buildings all the time.
See what I mean?
Thor is, bopping him. And then at the end, Thor cracks open the earth and Surtur and Odin fall into it. And all you see is Surtur's feet as he's going down. Look, here's his feet right here. I don't have to, I don't have to see him everywhere else, but he's got feet, and here they are.
I remember that shot.
They were afraid people wouldn't think Surtur had feet. And I explained to my 14-year-old daughter, and she said, "What?" shit. Really? That's a problem? So, that was kind of my feeling.
In a medium where your brain is supposed to fill in the blanks between panels, somehow your brain can't fill in the blank that this character probably has feet.
Probably has feet.
You don't see them. It's not canonical.
You might have peg legs, you know.
I want to show you. Here's a great example. This is maybe you guys can tell me. I'm not sure exactly who penciled. Maybe it was Gil Kane. It's Gil Kane. It's Gil Kane, and he's got a lot of figures on here, but no feet whatsoever.
Wow. Well, Jules is all feet.
Jules, you're attracting a very specific audience right now. Mostly
Suddenly we're raising a lot more money.
Yeah. Good on you.
Quentin Tarantino has joined the chat.
He heard the word feet and he's over. Yep.
I heard that he and his wife had a baby.
I did
He has
not
a
know
wife?
that.
Maybe. Oh yeah, he got married a year or two ago. But yeah, they had a baby.
Did the baby have feet?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen the feet?
Oh.
I'm sure that those feet get plenty of attention. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a baby. He's a father. He's a father, for crying out loud.
Well, if you say it like that, then it sounds really bad.
No, but I mean, can you still? So you can't like feet in more than one. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No, just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is the beauty of a drink and draw.
Shut up and draw. Yeah, I haven't even really. I mean, this is why I don't drink at drink and draws.
I forgot the drinking part. Would have
Well, I'm
helped.
having a lot of,
I
which is
drank enough to last me a lifetime in earlier days. So,
Yeah, we've retired.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I have a beer every
Drank
now and
enough
then,
for
that
me,
kind of thing. But
I never drank, so you probably drank enough for me as well. So I'm good.
I probably did. Yeah.
I see Cully is starting a new one, and so is Gabriel. So Cully, why don't you kick us off there? What are we looking at here?
Do I have to tell you now? I mean,
No,
can you just
absolutely
wait
not.
Until...
You can absolutely sit on that. I like to see the process. So
That's it. I'm hoping it's going to be a Superman, but we'll see.
could be a Bizarro. Who knows?
I've done that. Like you're sketching something, you think you know what you're sketching, and you're like, yeah, this is more of Aquaman than Batman. Or
it's more like I start sketching something and I'm not sure if it's going to work out and whether I'm going to have to throw it away. So
yeah. Do you ever start sketching a figure without thinking about what the pose is? You just kind of start at the head and then
all the time,
kind of figure it out as you go along.
Yeah.
Kind of all I do. I have 2 different hashtags about it.
Okay.
Actually, what I find annoying is I've only been doing this for like a million years. And tonight I had to draw a close-up across a guy's eyes, a little off to one side, slight upshot. And you'd think, I've drawn this stuff for a million years. Can't I just draw this and get it right? And after I finished drawing it, I looked at it and said, oh, this sucks. I went and had Wheezy take a photograph of me with my cell phone from the right angle so I could go back and redraw it. And it was so much better when I actually had the reference.
Yeah.
I just thought, really? I still need reference after all this time?
Sometimes.
No offense, but
Yeah, don't be a hero.
Happens all the time.
Here's the
But
reference.
I just, oh, goodness gracious.
yeah,
They're
no
really-
offense, but that makes me really happy, Walt.
He's human.
Yeah.
He's human.
There's no
Oh, you know what? The audience might like this too. I have this. This is something I keep on my phone for reference. It's, these pose apps.
I've got one of those.
Yeah.
They're more
It
for
comes with a bunch of like
conventions for me.
preloaded, poses and stuff. I'm not doing it right now because I'm half looking, but they're free.
Wow.
You can zoom in here. You can get those weird angles.
Yeah. I
You
might
know,
have
all
that
that kind of
exact
stuff.
same app.
Free po-
Show
There's
us
another
the
free book.
feet.
Your feet.
Somebody asked
Sure,
me about
the
See
feet.
the
I'm like,
feet.
I feel like my entire career is invalid suddenly.
Put the lotion in the basket. There's the feet.
All right, confirmed. He has feet.
But yeah, that's super handy. Is I use all kinds of reference, whether it's that sort of reference or photo reference, even with my cartoony stuff. It comes in really handy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even Disney animators, learned how to draw an elephant before they animated an elephant. That there's no shame to draw something that's informed, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Oops.
Or just to be inspired by something that isn't you bringing your cliches to everything
Yeah,
every time. I mean, something just to make things a little bit off your model is not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing like natural. When you have, like, say, if you're working from models like I do, and you're lucky enough to be able to work with a model, and you can light them and pose them, and then you take the picture and you're drawing directly from them, and you see things in reality that your brain could never concoct on its own. That's how you learn.
Well, yeah, because
you pick that up and it becomes part of your repertoire down the road. And go, I think I could do lighting like this because I've seen it before.
As I think everybody here knows, is like when you've done this for a while, it's like you develop sort of a catalog in your head of like ways to draw things.
Yeah.
So, you work from a model and it forces you to stop referencing what you have already in your head and draw what you see.
Yeah, and it adds to it too.
It adds to the catalog.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's the difference between making marks and making patterns, like if you're drawing from life or from reference or from some weird thing that you saw, you're making marks to create that on a page. But if you're just kind of always accessing, okay, this is what a nose looks like, and this is what an eye looks like, and this is, whatever, that's just a pattern you follow. So it's always best to shake off the dust. I'm curious how many other people, like on Twitter, or I guess it's harder to do on Instagram, anytime anybody tweets like a weird looking animal or like a weird looking animal or a insect or some strange piece of scenery, that goes directly into your photos on your phone to get brought up later.
I have a Dropbox file. It's full of stuff that comes off of Instagram and Google, and if like when I knew I was gonna have to draw the frog, I haven't drawn a frog in a while. If I'm hard pressed, I can draw a frog, but I wanted to. But I love the idea of you look at something, and you get that thrill of seeing the subject itself, and then wanting to convey what you've learned visually in the artwork. I can't imagine why that isn't fulfilling for other people. To want to convey something that you like. If you go for a walk, if you just go for a walk during the fall or the winter in the outdoors, and the weather is beautiful, and the trees and the leaves and the clouds, and I get inspired by that stuff. I go out on these walks with my kids, and then I'm taking pictures of clouds and thinking, wow, I want to put that cloud in a painting. And I almost never put that cloud in the painting, but it's somewhere back there. It's somewhere in there, informing what I do. There's a story that try and make it quick, but basically it's a story about Frazetta painting doing this painting, and he had a friend who was a collector, who some people would know who he is, but he was a friend of his, and he was a big collector of his, and he was in his studio, and Frank was working on something, and this guy used to tell Frank that Frank didn't need to use photo reference because he was Frank Frazetta, and he didn't need to use photo reference because he's Frazetta, which Frank was using reference his whole career. You can recognize Frank in a lot of his paintings, and his wife. Anyway, so he's working on this painting of this guy, and he can't get the shoulder right. He can't get the guy's shoulder right, and he's just working on it. It's bugging him, and then I guess David Spurlock was in his studio, and he goes, "What's going on?" He goes, "Well, I can't get this guy's shoulder right." And he goes, "Why don't you just shoot some reference for it? Get the lighting the way you want it and everything." And he goes, oh, well, you know, Doc says I don't need to do that. He goes, you know, I don't need to use, I shouldn't be using reference so much and stuff. And David goes, well, you know, okay, whatever. And he said that when he came back like a week later, the painting was done and it looked perfect. And he suspected that that Frank had broken down and gotten some reference to get this thing right. And I had the same thing happen to me just recently, where this painting I did in the early 90s of Conan for a Conan magazine. I never liked the way I did his shoulder. The way I did his deltoid always bothered me, but it's in print. I don't own the painting anymore. So there wasn't anything I could do about it. And then I just found the painting was owned by some guy in Comic Art Fans. So I just wrote to him and I said, hey, can I get that painting back from you? I swear I don't have a scan of it. And also I'd like to fix the arm. And he said, yeah. I know, it's insane. He said, yes. He said, yes, you can do that. And I was like, wow. And then he commissioned that Archangel from me. But
happy ending for everybody.
I did the painting. I have a guy who models for me sometimes. He's a bodybuilder. He's a competitive bodybuilder. And he happens to live like 2 doors down from me. And so he was out, he and a friend, this is like 3 months ago. They were outside taking pictures of the guy for his Instagram page for content for his Instagram page. So he's posing in the sun, you know, it's a nice time of day and the lighting is good. And I'm, you know, no one's wearing masks and I'm walking my kid and I get up about 15 feet away and I said, hey, can I get in on this? And he goes, yeah, sure. So I got my phone. I took some pictures of my phone and you know, we had talked about this Conan thing I needed to do. And so, you know, I had the picture on my phone and I posed him and I photographed it. And so I shot my reference of this guy because this guy's very well defined and stuff, but he's not like on the juice or anything, you know, he's very natural in his bodybuilding. And so I used that to fix the painting. And I feel a lot better about it. You guys want to see it?
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, right, we do.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sending this guy his Archangel and his Conan painting back.
Awesome. Oh my
painting
God.
I did back in 90, I want to say, hold on a second, I'll tell you when I did it. When did I do this thing? I did this, 94, something like that. Back when the paper was still good. So there's this arm. This is the fixed version. So.
Oh man, I wish we had it before. I want to compare.
Yeah.
Because I know it was gorgeous before anyways, but I want to know what you think.
Before, there were a lot of cut lines in his deltoid that wouldn't actually be there. There were just too many. And then also his forearm and some of the anatomy was kind of improvised a little too much. And it always bothered me because I knew it was wrong. So yeah, I mean, on Patreon, I put up a kind of a comparative thing so people could see what I was doing. But it was such a great thing to be able to go back and fix a mistake from, you know, decades ago. I don't always want to do that, but sometimes you look at things you did and go, you know, but to be able to, but for someone to trust me enough to let me do that, I thought that was pretty amazing. I mean, that's probably not going to happen again.
That is
cool. So anyway.
I want to throw a couple quick notes out there. Phil Hester in the chat is saying his laptop might die. Don't be upset if he bails without saying goodbye.
I'll show my last. My favorite superhero is
Ragman.
Yes, that no one on Earth would request. So I did my extra coasters right.
That's awesome. Cool.
That is awesome. That Ragman. You know, I like Ragman. I think he's a freaking cool character. I would like to have those rags. Shoot, I'd be using them to good use.
What was this? What was his stuff? What did they call
steal Phil's thunder?
Oh, nice!
Wow!
Oh, man. That's so cool.
Oh, sweet, man.
So it really was a giant size man thing.
My laptop or my iPad here might die in a bit, so I'll show you mine.
Awesome.
Is it a Batman?
Oh, sweet.
Very good. That Batman.
Nice.
Another Batman.
Those are great.
Girl.
Oh, very nice.
And this one I was actually really happy with. Is Storm, the John Byrne Storm.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That is awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Such a great designer.
Yeah, that's great. That is a great costume.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's keep checking.
People are going to put their drinks on them.
Let's keep checking. Oh yeah, please don't put your drinks on these, or at least laminate them first. Let's keep checking around the room here. Ibrahim, how you doing over there?
Good. I got another one done. Swamp Thing. My first time ever drawing Swamp Thing.
Nice.
Oh,
wow,
cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh my
you.
god.
Is that a request?
That is crazy.
But thank you. And now I'm working on a lightning lad. I've never drawn anyone from the Legion before, so this should be fun.
Oh,
Sweet.
Walter, did you do your other two? Your two extras?
yeah, I finished them up. I did. I just did random ones, but I did a Cyclops.
Oh yeah, right. You did Cyclops in Dark Side.
I did a Manhunter.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
So cool.
Wow.
So
Just send those to me. I'll color them.
We had a lot of questions. Jules, how did the feet turn out?
Oh, I'd say the feet turned out really well. Like here are my feet in the host.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah, here, let me show you the.
No one can ever tell you that you can't draw feet.
Exactly, like, right? So I just took a little photo of myself standing in the home. And, yeah.
I love it.
Some lucky foot fetishist is going to have a really great ghost.
Yeah.
Well done.
We had the chat was going off. A lot of requests for the Monty Python foot.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I wish I thought about that. Oh, nuts.
Hey, Walter, I got a question for you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
I have a question for Walter. Walter, when I visited your guys' house years and years ago, you took me in your studio and you showed me the closet where you keep all your originals.
Yes.
And they were stacked pretty high. And I think sometimes every once in a while I go back in my mind and think, what does that stack look like now? Is it up to the ceiling yet?
I'm still in the same closet. The
Yeah.
closet is about, I don't know, 8-10 feet high.
The stack is 8-10 feet high?
No, the closet. I don't have every shelf full. So.
Right. You're not trying to do like a Jenga thing.
No, good God. No, but I figure they will find me someday collapsed under, dead under some giant collapse. Well, most of my books, I think.
Back and shuffle through them to make sure that there aren't any colonies of creatures living in them or anything.
So far, it hasn't been a problem. And I have a lot of them are in plastic bags and kind of protected.
Oh, okay. So when you first started in the early 70s, was artwork routinely held back, or had they started to?
No, they didn't return art. They didn't return art until about 75 or 76. So it wasn't given back early. However, my early work was for DC, and they reached a point where they weren't throwing it away anymore. They weren't destroying it. They did for a while. They would put it in the paper cutter and just chop it in half and throw it out. And one of the stories that I heard was that Neil Adams walked in one day and saw this and threw a complete fit, and they quit doing it after that. I don't know if that story is true. I never remember to ask Neil when I see him. Of course, I haven't seen him for a while now. But in any case, they quit doing it. So when they began giving artwork back, 75 or 76, I got back almost everything I had done from the beginning of my career. First job I ever did, several others. I didn't get back 2 of the Manhunters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing was at the time, there was no way to tell what happened. A lot of the artwork just light-footed it out of the office and was, disappeared. Some of it probably was trashed by accident or by design. I mean, that stuff just builds up fast. The old DC office, every available shelf, every cupboard you could open, everything was just full of artwork. And as far as I know, unarranged, although maybe somebody who was there at the time would know better than me. But of the Manhunters, I eventually, about 3 years later, somebody got in touch with me, and he had one of the episodes, and he offered to sell it back to me for the cost he had paid for it. And I said, sure. So I bought it back. So I'm missing one chapter of the Manhunter, and I've never seen the art, and I've never met anybody who has seen the art. I have met people who have said, oh, I talked to a guy who said he'd seen that chapter. but it was always at least one remove. So I have no idea. But I was lucky. I got almost everything back. The only thing I was really annoyed about was I had done a double-page spread. They used to have battle albums in the war comics at DC. The pinup, some sort of armor or a Panzer or a airplane or whatever it was. And I had done a double-page spread on one sheet of paper of the German battleship Tirpitz, which I'm interested in that stuff. And I wrote it. I wrote the caption for it. It's for Archie. So my first writing was actually a battle album for whatever comic it was in. And that was one of in the early days, didn't come back. And it did come back eventually when they returned everything, but they'd cut it in half because it was on different flats. And so it was photographed for different flats. So the drawing was cut in half, but at least I got it back.
That's amazing. That's like the story they tell about how the artists who were painting the pulp covers for like Street Smith and those other companies, how they would use the same canvas, for multiple paintings.
Oh yeah.
So they would just paint one pulp cover right over the top of another one, and then until the thickness was too much to work with, and then they would burn them.
Well,
it just kills me when I hear the story.
Back in those days.
Another story going back to DC when they weren't returning art, and I'm sure you've heard the story about Gil, is Gil Kane supplemented his income by liberating a lot of those pages from the offices of DC Comics. And I think Howard tells this story that Gil is in an office of an editor, and he's talking to an editor, and he probably brought in a job or something that he was turning in. While he was there, there was a stack of pages on the editor's desk, and he was kind of looking through them, like, these are nice. Oh, look at these. And then the editor said, you can't have those yet, Gil. We haven't published that book yet. And Gil was like, what? What do you mean? So they already knew, I guess, that he was up to it. And the funny coda to that story is that I told that story to Archie a few years later, retold it. And Archie said, yeah, he goes, I was that editor. That was my I'm sure it happened.
Looks like Cully's got a awesome freaking sketch going of, is that the question perhaps?
Yeah, it's gonna be a question.
Some cool action. Let's see that Superman. We had Linda Craig in our Zoom chat. She wants to see that Superman.
Nice.
That is awesome.
Backwards on that camera for some reason.
Sweet.
Oh,
that looks awesome. That's a dang good looking Superman right there.
Thank you.
It comes up right, Cully, on when you hold it up. I think it's just showing you.
Oh, okay. That's just what I'm seeing.
Came up right on the screen.
Yeah.
Somehow the art is backwards, but the lettering in your shirt is the right way. I don't know how you did that. That's how you know when vampires are growing.
I'm going to stop noodling this. So this is my last one is Jean Grey. Green costume with a little bit of red reflected.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that thing's nothing. Hey, gang, we're going to get going. My battery's about out. I think Taki's battery's out too.
Yeah.
Mike, Taki, thank y'all so much for coming. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Good to see you guys. Happy New Year.
Good seeing you.
Be well.
Good seeing you guys and
Happy
meeting
New
some of you.
Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Great.
Bye.
Good meeting you.
See ya.
Bye now.
Bye,
nice meeting you. Bye.
All right. Jules, what do you got working on right there?
I'm working on Jubilee.
Oh, yeah. All right. Blowing the bubbles. Oh, yeah. I know we have a person in the YouTube chat that likes Jubilee Ryan, a.k.a. Shauna Lindsay, right?
Big fan. Big fan. Hi, Shauna.
She's in our chat in there.
Let's see what else we got in the chat here. Always lots of Batmans. Always, always. Fan favorite. Fan favorite. Can't even get mad at it.
I got a lot of redheads this time. No Batman.
The redheads went out today.
I got 3 redheads.
Did you wear through your orange ink?
No, I have this really weird souvenir pencil from the Golden Gate Bridge. That's the same hue as the Golden Gate Bridge, which is a primer kind of red orange. So I'm just using that, and it's super cheap and it's crap, but it's working perfect for these coasters. So
that is so random. I love it.
Yeah, but I have lots of orange and red on because that's a color I use a lot. So I have a lot of that on hand on my amongst my stuff. So I'm in good shape. So I think I'm done, and my phone is about to die too because I have a 10% battery or something like that. So, whoops, where'd we go? So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Dan.
Dan, thank you so much for coming on. It's great seeing you.
I hope
Hey,
you
Dan.
guys had fun. I had fun.
I had fun, man.
Yeah,
Amazing.
It was really
Yeah, it's
cool.
been great.
Also, I really liked your paintings.
Oh, thank you. It's just weird. Like that's one thing I think that's missing from this year is, well, to a certain degree, is we spend a lot of time in our little caves doing our drawing and working away. But one thing I miss about conventions and things like that is being able to go out of the cave and show people what you've done. I think that's a part of what we do is it's not just being alone and solitary, but also having that feedback and having something to show for all that time you were in the cave.
And you know what? Also just hanging out.
Oh yeah, I mean, Colleen,
I still remember, Dan, that night. What was it, like a couple of years ago at the casino con that we were at?
Dude,
we
that
had
was
dinner.
only a little bit over a year ago.
Yeah, I mean it was like you and me and Howard and Dave and it was great. That was a great con.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd had a dinner like that, and I can't tell you how long. And I had
that was the first time. That was the first time I'd seen you in it, probably 10 years.
Yeah. Probably since like when I was in North Carolina or San Diego. Yeah.
Or the first time we were able to talk for more than 2 minutes.
Yeah. Because Colleen and I, we used to carouse in North Carolina.
Oh yeah,
together.
yeah.
Wow.
For comic book artists, carousing is a whole different thing than normal carousing. That's where you get your heart broken continually with a friend. But last summer or summer before last, we were at Terrificon in Connecticut, which is in the middle of nowhere in this gigantic bubble city called the Mohegan Sun Casino with only 50 restaurants.
It's like being on a space station for an entire convention. Yeah. You never get out.
And you really, all your needs are met there. And that's actually one of my favorites. That's my new favorite show, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a great show.
I don't know if you were going to go back this year. I was supposed to go back this year. Well, we have to do that dinner again.
Yeah, we do.
Hopefully Valiant will pick up the tab like they did last time. Through Lisa Hawkins, who's the great editor at Valiant. And I hope Lisa's running the show by next year. I hope she's everyone's boss, not just ours. But yeah, we had a great night, and the actor Robert Wool came over to our table because he knows Howard. He recognized Howard Chaykin and is a fan. And then Howard impressed Robert Wool by making an Arliss reference. Just pull that out of nowhere. Yeah, I missed that. So that kind of stuff is so few and far between now that I've been doing these Zoom chats with and without Hero. I do some on my Patreon, and I've done quite a few with Hero Initiative. And the last one, the great legend, was our host at the Baltimore Con, which was a lot of fun.
Great
although
time.
I didn't know anybody there, but this has been great. This is like old home week, Walter and Cully and Mike and Taki. It's pretty amazing. Weren't they at that show too last year? Maybe they were. I think they might have been. That Terrificon is a pretty fun. What convention are we doing this for? What's this one called?
This is Mainframe.
Yeah, Mainframe and Hero.
I thought it was Hero Initiative and Word Balloon, and then with some other thing.
Yeah.
Mainframe Comic-Con. That's your deal.
Yep.
That's completely. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to be so. Maybe it's a good time to talk
please
about
don't apologize. We
can
do
talk
online.
about what Mainframe is?
Yeah, so we started once everything kind of shut down. I'm in Chicago, and so is Chuck, who was also someone else who started this up with me. And the last convention we had was C2E2, and then it was kind of everybody started taking it seriously. Well, we were like, let's see what we can do to get online. Let's obviously everybody misses the conventions, and it's not quite the same, but we do our best to bring on the brightest talent, as you can see, as we were blessed with tonight, and we just kind of like try to have some fun with it. So we've had the opportunity to talk some big stars, David Harbour, Kevin Smith, the list goes on, and we aim to keep doing this. So obviously, with the support of people like you, I think we stand a pretty decent chance.
Well, as long as who did?
Damn straight you did, Dan.
Me? How was
Hell
that
yeah,
possible?
dude. The bottle.
No. I'm just shocked to hear that, because I was really well. I was drawing. I was kind of quiet, and I can draw and talk at the same time. I'm just not used to it. But I only knew Terry a little bit from the CompuServe days, and I didn't really know anyone else. So I was doing a lot of listening, and I was quiet. And then later on, I think some of the people had left, and then the conversation picked up a little bit more. And also, I was done with most of my drawings.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. Donnie Cates and Terry and Terry Moore.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, here we go. Hi everybody.
See, this is what it's all about. It's all about the people, isn't it, Chad, man? The fans.
Holy smokes, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Look.
What's up, everybody?
Wow, look at all that. Hey,
Well,
look on that anime cat on Twitter banging the anime buffs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one. Yeah. That's good. What were you expecting, Chad? Like a big pop? Like everyone's screaming? Hey, you're good, but you ain't no Dwayne Rock Johnson. You know what I'm saying?
Did I
Might have
ask
been everyone
Walt
talked at
Simonson
the same
enough
time, and
questions?
everybody just cancel each other out, right?
That's
I thought it was fun. You're right. It's tough to recreate the con experience, and we all miss it as much or more as you guys do, I'm sure. And,
Well, if you're here and you've got a drink in your hands, let's cheers and hope that 2021 is a little bit better for all of us. And I pray that I can run into all of you sometime soon at some convention where we're all having a damn good time.
I'm really hard to miss.
I'm telling you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Jules, you really threw off my vibe. My fit was just ruined.
It's fun. We always have fun at these, and I always have a great time.
I think that this situation we're in is actually, in some ways, it's preferable to it's more intimate than a comic convention, not because there are less people necessarily, but because when we're sitting at our tables drawing, we maybe get to talk to one or two or maybe three other people who are standing around the table, if you were lucky to have that many people around your table. And sometimes there's more, sometimes there's fewer, but we don't usually get to talk to our peers while we're drawing. We're usually kind of isolated, and I have to take a break and walk around. And if I see someone like Mike Oming or Walt Simonson drawing with their head down, I'm not going to go over and bother them. So, I mean, this is actually preferable, and we're seeing what we're doing. We're commenting on what we're doing. And everyone benefits from the back and forth and the stories and things like that. And I hope I asked Walt Simonson enough interesting questions that, I had. But I think that to me is what conventions are really about. It's not about hunting down exclusives or filling up your sketchbook. It's about the communication and communing with people who get what we're talking about, when half the time we're out in the world and no one wants to have anything to do with anything we want to talk about, or there are too many opinions, like social media is full of that. And we can see feet being drawn by a talented
That's right.
drawer.
Yeah, that's right. Those are classic. Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, Tom Fowler. Oh yeah, sorry about that.
I was going to get back to it, but
oh wow, look at that. Oh,
That's gorgeous.
Wow.
Oh,
now,
that's so awesome.
Is that Klaus Kinski as Randy Macho Man Savage?
Sorry?
Is that Klaus Kinski as Randy Macho Man Savage?
No, he's not that good an actor.
Okay.
Is Randy Savage a Canadian too, Tom?
No. Not that I know of.
I saw him at the airport in Canada once. And
well, there was a lot of wrestling took place up here. So
yeah,
half the WWF was Canadian until it got bought out. Back in the good old days. But I think one thing that do you guys remember Leaping Lenny Popow?
Yeah, old
Popoff?
Macho Man's brother.
Yeah, he was Macho Man's brother.
Leaping Lanny Poffo. Yep.
Wow.
And he was the genius. Did you remember him, Tom, when he wore that valedictorian?
Well, only when he entered the WWE. Before that, he was just jumping around a lot.
Just leaping, yeah. Throwing out frisbees. Did he say the poetry?
Yeah, the poetry too. Yeah.
Yeah. He still wrestles to this day on occasion. I'll look at him on the YouTube sometimes. He's still getting wrestling around with that stuff.
Yeah, I tapped out of wrestling sometime in the early mid '80s.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I've got one more drawing I've got to finish tonight before I can go to bed. Not for a hero, but for a page I'm working on. So I'm going to go do that, complete it, and then I can knock off. Thanks very much.
All right.
Real pleasure. Been great to see everybody.
See you, Walter.
Everybody be safe, be healthy. Happy New
Walter.
Take care.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
To Weezy.
Absolutely.
Happy New Year.
You too.
This is great, man.
I'm almost done. I've got this going pretty good so far.
Heck yeah. Freaking awesome. Is that Storm?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
My last one for the evening.
You could have that. That's when Storm was just kicking butt, taking names. That was the good old
it always
days.
bothers me how they always draw her with super hella pressed hair, and I'm just like, let's just let her have some dreads. It's cool.
Damn straight. Hell yeah.
Gabriel, are you drawing the Green Goblin? Is that the
I am. Yeah. I got through all of mine. So I did, although I don't know, I did a Winter Soldier. I don't know what the hell the winter. I mean, does he wear a mask? Is it different from
No. Does he wear a mask?
Sometimes.
I don't know.
Sometimes he has the little eye mask.
Yeah, it's the Incredibles thing that's supposed to make nobody recognize you, even though everybody can see the rest of your face.
That's beautiful. Look at that.
Wow.
I did Batman.
That's a great Batman.
Gorgeous.
And so I'm working on a Green Goblin. That's the
those are great.
I'm gonna follow you on Instagram now.
Oh, gee, I'm glad that I lived up. And,
Well, are we allowed to put these on our Instagram?
I'm sorry, Jules?
I was just wondering, are we allowed to put these?
I don't see
I would
why
love
not.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Put them
I
on
think that'd
there.
be great.
Get some good stuff. I know the Hero Initiative does a lot of great stuff to help our comic book creators in need. If you go to heroinitiative.org/merchandise, you can see all the cool stuff that you can buy that they have to offer. And whenever you buy something, it always helps out the Hero Initiative. So keep that in mind. Also, they'll have the stuff on there where you can talk to all the creators, like your favorite creators. You can have them do some art for you, or you can ask them questions, do little workshops. So those are the talent talk events, aren't they, Chad?
Yeah, I've done one of the one-on-one talks, and that, or not one. It was 5-on-1 with Charlie Adler, and that was a lot of fun. 'Cause he never comes to the States, so I never get to see the guy, and that was a good opportunity.
Talk about a guy with some artwork behind him. Good Lord, man. I can't even see your walls.
Yeah, that's becoming a problem, actually.
No way.
Got stuff I can't hang.
I've been looking at Tim's and Andy there, and I can see a bunch of art in the background, and it's got me like, but you can't zoom in on any one screen, I don't think. So I've just been left here wondering what's going on.
I think it's
You
hard
guys
unless
have,
they're talking at the time. I was trying to zoom in on a few
Yeah.
people while they were drawing, and I couldn't figure out how to isolate the feed.
Tim, you have a specific thing you collect, or is it a little bit everything back there?
Mostly Batman. Big Batman
Nice.
fan. One of Michael's Batmans was for me.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I collect a few other things. If I meet someone who's created a character I like a lot, I'll definitely try to get that. Like, you know, I got a Bishop from Mr. Portasio, and a few other cool things. Got to score a Spider-Gwen from Robbie Rodriguez. That was cool. That looks really good.
Very cool.
But yeah, my baseline's Batman. I just love different takes on him, and everyone's yeah, it's fun to see everyone's different take, and you know,
Cool.
everyone knows how to draw Batman too. It's not tricky.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel
right.
like I'm asking for something for the 800th time, but
I have a collection of Superman art, and I always feel kind of reticent to ask people, you know, to request Superman, because either people love it or they go, oh, all right. It's like never in between, you know.
Oh man, okay, yeah. Well, everybody, thank y'all so much for coming out tonight. We have been going on about 2 hours almost, a little shy of the 2 hour mark. But man, this has been a lot of freaking fun. Make sure you do check out heroinitiative.org for more cool stuff coming, because there's always a lot of stuff lined up. Mainframecomiccon.com. Make sure you check mainframecomiccon.com out, because that place is always, you know, the convention that is always online 24/7. You can get all that good stuff at Mainframe Comic Con. And make sure you check out my good friend John Suntress at wordballoon.com, also his webpage at wordballoon. And Ryan, anything else before we go?
I would be remiss if I didn't plug my podcast, The Chumpcast. It's more movie stuff. We do comic books every now and then, but I promise I'll shut up about that now. Just check out Mainframe Support Hero Initiative.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And everybody take care and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for coming out.